Welcome to Yeshiva Daf sponsor Yechezkel. We're holding in Daf. It's a heading Daf Tzadites. Just want to mention one thing before we go on. And that was the last sentence of the Gemara of yesterday. Is that it says that Yeshua says there'll be. It says in the Gemara brings that there'll be another David HaMelech. So the question is, the Gemara says, so you'll have two Davids. The Gemara says there'll be like the president and the vice president. So I saw brought down, the idea is, every king in Malchi Beis David is called David. It's like Lahavdil. You know, the people from Egypt are always called Pari. So Malchi Beis David, everybody's a David. So Mashiach with David too. He's also a David. So when the Gemara says there'll be another David, it means except Mashiach who's David, there'll be another David. So what's the Nekuda? The Nekuda is that Mashiach is going to be in a higher level than what David is. That whoever is going to come to be his vice president is the level of David HaMelech. The vice president will be the level of the David HaMelech that we know. Mashiach ben David is going to be much greater. So that's the Nekuda, that's the case of Palgi Kesar. Slimah Dorsh Asmaloi Ma'idechtiv Hoi Amisavim Eshem Hashem Lama Zalachem Yom Hashem. That's Yechezkel based two lines on the bottom. Right? He says, why do you have Hashem? It's darkness and not light. So you have a rooster, a chicken, and you have a torf, you have a translation, what? An owl. Can't see. A bat. Can't see. To the bat, I know what I want looking for the light. I enjoy the light. The rooster is, enjoys and sings in the light. So why are you waiting for the light? Says the Gemara that says, so the mean told the Ravo, when is Mashiach coming? Will be darkness on you. Give me a claw. So when there will be darkness on the other ones, will be light on you. And this goes to the Nekudo that the Mashiach is the Tachlis of the Olam, is when it comes to have Gilui Hashem. When you have Gilui Hashem in the world, all the bad needs to go away. So the meaning and all the ones who are questioning HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they must have darkness. By definition, the light of Mashiach takes away the darkness of everybody else. So Meilim, the Gemara says the same thing. The mashal was that the ones who's going to have the light is only the tzaddikim, not the ones that are not.
Stating effect,
right, and he comes out right. As the Maral says, we're going to see this as we go forward in the daf. The Maral point is that Yemoshe Mashiach is the time in which it depends who is it for. For the Rishayim, Yemoshe Mashiach is the end. And when they come to Yemoshe Mashiach, they're going to die with the Mashiach, and they're going to stay, and that's it. For the Am Yisrael, the Tzaddikim, Yemoshe Mashiach is a path through. You start from Olam Hazeh, you go through Yemoshe Mashiach to get ready for Olam Haba. So Yemoshe Mashiach itself is two different times. It's a time of the end, time of the starting of the light, and that's the two concepts we have over here. Tanya Blazoim Yemoshe Mashiach Boim Shon. The Gemara is going to bring you some dates, and the Mefarshim, the Kubalim discuss it. What does it mean with these dates? The different aspects they have to do with Yemoshe Mashiach. So Tanya Blazoim Yemoshe Mashiach Boim Shon. It's 40 years. Shnamar Boim Shon Okud Bedor. It means the same 40 years they have on the Midbar, we have a Mashiach. 70 years. Shema Baya Bayemu Minishkachas Tzor Shiv Rishono Kimei Melech Echad. So Tzor will be forgotten for 70 years, like the king, like one king. This is the one king. Ezu Melech Miyuchot. Rabbi Yoimer is the Mashiach. Rabbi Yoimer Shloisha Doris. 3 generations. It will be gone. It will be Mashiach. Shneimar Yerucho Im Shemesh Lefnei Yareach Dor Dorim. So we talk about Dor Dorim. So the Rashi says, how do you say Yeruchem Shemesh? Because on Mashiach it says Lifnei Shemesh Yinu and Shmoy. Talk about the sun, talk about Mashiach. It says Dor Dorim, 3 generations. Rabbi Loimer, this was saw on the end of yesterday's daf, and this is what the Mepharshim here go crazy about this. Rabbi Loimer, Eile Mashiach L'Yisrael. There's no Mashiach V'Am Yisrael. They already benefit from Yechezkel. Allah Yosef surely more. So says Yosef, because what has to be Moichel Reveal. Yechezkel was able by Rishon. Yechezkel was by Rishon. Feel is a Charika Misnabe by Sheni v'Omar Gilim Yois Batzion Hari Bas Yerushalayim in full joy. Ni Malkech Yovoy Loch Tzadik v'Noishu Oni v'Reichav l'Chamor. So it says clearly Mashiach is going to come. So how can you say there was no Mashiach because already Abraham Yechezkel? So here the Nekuda, the interesting Nekuda that comes out from the Maharal, the idea is that the Mashiach, when it says the Mashiach is not going to be, means that we're not going to need Mashiach. The Rashi already says. Mashiach says, Rashi says, if you look at Rashi, Rashi says, Elo Mashiach l'Yisrael, Elo Kadosh Baruch Hu. Everybody's going to see all the mispah, everybody's here. So he says, Ella, what does it mean? What we're talking about? What does it mean that? So what does it mean Mashiach Yisrael? So he says, Pshat Mashiach Yisrael is that the Mashiach that it's Rashi says. We start seeing Rashi. Ella Kadosh Baruch Hu Yimloich Be'atzmoi V'Golim Levadu. Kadosh Baruch Hu do it. It doesn't need Mashiach. So Pshat does the name Mashiach Yisrael means that I'm not going to need Mashiach to be the leader who's going to be directly from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. We have a direct correlation. This has to do with what we learned last daf. Because last daf, we did, and I'm referring to yesterday's daf, so I could say, check the Shur Machshov on the daf. So we learned, it wasn't published yet. But the Gabi, what it says, Be'ito Achishenu. Right? You have two different times. What is the time Be'ito Achishenu is brought down, and then first, Be'ito Achishenu means, as the Goyen learns, the Goyen, Be'ito Achishenu means when it comes through HaKadosh Baruch Hu, excuse me, what? Tzadik Tes Amudaf. The Be'ito Achishenu, that's me. Oh. The Be'ito Achishenu refers to that you have two times. You have a time that can be done because we are hurrying the Geula because it comes from us, and there's time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it. So when the Gemara says over here, there's no Mashiach, I don't need the tool of Mashiach because it's going to come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the reference. But still the Gemara is doichet. Going back to what we said before, 40 years. It says in the Midbar that Kadosh Baruch Hu made you hungry and gave you to eat. Make us happy like those days that we had of Ra. So meaning the 40 days, another Raya 40 days. It's 400 years. It says by Mitzrayim that they made Am Yisrael work for 40 years. Make us happy like the years of Inui, of torture, and that's 400 years. 365 years. So it says it's Yoim no Kabilibi and the Shnas Gulabai. My Yoim no Kabilibi. So before we get to the way, so you see it, so Rashi explains, so Yoim and Ashana. Yoim Lashana. Meaning for every one connected every day of the year, I have a Shana. And that's why I have 365 years. It says more my Yom no Kabilibi. Interesting. So just before we go continue on, when the Maharal goes on to explain that each one has different mashmos of what it means. Not necessarily talking about in actual years. It's a conceptual idea of what Mashiach is about. What is Mashiach Megal? And the Leshem, he goes on to say, and I don't remember if he goes through all the different Mandomerim, but he goes on to explain how there's different kufas in ways of Mashiach. Through the Mashiach itself, there's the 40 years, there's the 70 years, there's the different kufas where things are going to change and happen doing in ways of Mashiach. Saying, well, my Yom Nokam Belibi, I have a revenge in my heart. I was begat to my heart and not to my limbs. It's referring to my heart, not to the malachim. These two things go together. Because as the Rebbe Yechezkel brings, when you speak about Evorai, what is referring to? We talk about, so to speak, the body of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kivyochel. So it talks about different Giluyim of Hashem. There's the Giluy Pnimi Yoser and the Giluy Chitzoni Yoser. When we talk about the Libi, means it's something which is very hidden and not revealed in the world. Evarai is more the Pu'ulas that you see in the world. You're able to connect, you're able to relate to. Because what says the Yoim of Geula is in the hidden place, is in the higher place. It doesn't come out to the external place. And similar thing is what it more says regarding Malachi Asharis. Malachi Asharis are the ones who are, relatively speaking, outside and they're seeing things the way they're being revealed. 7,000 years. Shenemaru misois choson al kalo yosis olayich elekoich. So you have the simcha of choson al kalo. How much is it? Shabbat brachas. So you have also 7,000 years, and that's the days of Hashem in 7,000 years. Here the Rishonim Rekanti brings. Not going into too much. The Rekanti, there's a sheet in the Rishonim the Vilna Gaon refers to that there is 7. We have 7 cycles of 7, and we are only in the second or third cycle. And when we get to the 7,000, it's Yemois Mashiach, and it's going to happen 7 times. So it's 7 times. It's 7. You have 7 times 1,000 years. There's a reference over here to the Gemara, to this Gemara. At the same time, from the beginning of the world until today, so he goes, it says the Mani Bri Mechem, that's what we talk about, that we're going to have a new life. It's like the days of Shemayim La'aretz, meaning the entire time of the Bria. Whatever, in other words, 6,000 years. Says the Gemara, okay, says the Gemara, not from the beginning of the world, but when from Noach was. So it says Kimei Noach, meaning that there will be the time of the Akash Baruch Hu promised, like the days of Mei Noach. Rashi says, look at Rashi, Kimei Noach, Kimei Noach kecheshboin hashonim shenimtza biyodoi lo yiso azman shenishba Hashem ma'avor Mei Noach oid al haaretz kein nishbati. Kefir yiso cheshbon nishbati miktzuf alayach o migorbach shlo achiv esolomi. I'm not going to destroy the world until the time from me Noach until the end of the world. That's more actions. Says the Gemara now, Kol Hanivim Kulom Lo Nisnabu Elo Limois HaMashiach Avlo Lo Abo Ayin Lo Yoso Elokim Zolasecho Yasle B'chak Eloi. The Nevi'im that we have, all the Nevuahs, that's Limois HaMashiach. Limois HaMashiach is going to be so special. V'gar Zev and Keves, the wolf will live with the wool. And all the weapons will turn to be mizmayros. Will be instruments they use in the field, and all the big beautiful things. And there'll be things like be food growing from the trees. That's all Yemei Mashiach. We can't talk about Ayin Lo Rosso Elokim Zolosech. There's no difference between Mashiach but Shibud Malchus, meaning it's really the same thing. But Yemei Mashiach is not very special. It's very, very different. And here. Right, this is so this is the big machlekes. How does the Mashiach look like? And here, the big discussion, the Valdik Hinyan, is that the Rambam seems to have a stira. On one hand, the Rambam brings Lo Nisabu Chachamim, as the Miami Boys Choir song that was popular when I was a kid. Lo Nisabu Chachamim Ela Mashiach. Why? Look today, not because. Don't think because they want to have to. You listen to a Kol Ha'olam. We're talking about the levels of the Yemei Mashiach. The Rambam will speak about that. We're talking about a very high level that will be in Yemei Mashiach. Mitzad Sheni, the Rambam brings the Ein Bein Yemei Mashiach. It says in Hilchos Tshuva, there's no difference between Yemei Mashiach and Olam Haba, El Shiv Malchus Levad. So the Mefarshim already point out, the Yechezkel point out, Chura Stira and Divrei Rambam. Does he paskan like Shmuel or does he paskan like Rabbi Yochanan? Is Yemei Mashiach different than today or is not different than today? That's the big shiloh. And there's several different answers that are brought down. One mahalach, one simple. You need a Gemara over here. One simple mahalach to answer the stira is that there's 2 tkufas in Yemei Mashiach. There's a tkufa in Yemei Mashiach where we are. It's going to be ein bein, and slowly, gradually, it's going to change. The little more, another depth to it is what the Lesha brings. That doing Yemei Mashiach, people will come back for Tchias HaMesim. So really, Yemei Mashiach depends. If a person already came back to life, they're not come back to life. If he's still living from before, so then it's going to be the same thing. The ones that come back from Yemei Mashiach, the new Tchiyah, they're coming back to a new life. It's a different level. But this is a little more of this, Be'ez Hashem, and some other answers will be discussed in the Shomach Shom on the Daf. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, another Nkudo here that we have, a very similar idea. Says the Gemara, the Nevi'im are talking about Tshuva. Tzadikim Gemurim, Ayin Lo Yosa Elokim Zolosech. Tzadikim, they're at a different level. But Tshuva in a higher level of Tzadikim. Shenemar Shalom Shalom La Rochoik V'Lakorov. Bereish Rochoik. have the curve, you start from the farther away, and you come to the closer one. My rochak my curve, meaning the rochak is first. That's the Baal Tshuva who was far. What is curved? He was always curved. The opposite. Rochak means he's far away from the Aveiro. Curve means that he's close to the Aveiro, but now he got away from it. And that is the Machlekes. So here there's a big discussion. Pashim Shah, the Machlekes, between Tzaddikim and Baal Tshuva, as many bring, the Vilna Goyim brings in the Imre Noyam, and the Tzaddik speaks about a lot, that really there is no Machlekes, because it's two different aspects. There's an aspect of Tzaddikim are greater than Baal Tshuva, the ones that Mizgaber and Yetzer, the ones that were always working. And there's a concept that Baal Tshuva is greater than Tzaddik, because Baal Tshuva is able to reach levels that Tzaddik never experienced, because he never had that other side. And each one of them has different mind. And these two shittas just you talk about these two different aspects. Someone who marries his daughter to Tamei Chacham or gives business to Tamei Chacham, or he lets the Tamei Chacham enjoy his property. When they're going to have their reward, something that we cannot comprehend. According to this, Gemara seems to be a little bit that we are talking about even in the time of Christ Mashiach. We're talking about Olam Haba. Not the Shai. My yain lawyer also, what does it mean? Talk about the wine that's waiting for Yeshiva and Bereshis. So that's what we're talking about. Shlokishoma is the Aiden. Right? It's Aiden. Nobody saw ever Aiden. Where was Adam Rishon? The God. It wasn't the Aiden, it was in the God. Maybe tell me God and Aiden is the same thing. You have something coming out of Aiden going to God. That's called Gan Eden. Gan Eden is the Garden of Eden, but it's not Eden itself. Eden itself, we don't know. We ever experienced. That's what we're talking about. So the same way Eden is clearly talking about a highest level of Tainuk possible, because we know Gan Eden is pretty awesome. So Eden is supposed to be much greater. So similarly, when we're talking about Yain and Mishum or Mishes and Bereshis, is talking about the highest level of pleasure possible. And this is brought down in the Siddur HaGra. I forgot the name of the Chaber for a moment. Rav Isaac. Okay? And he brings over there the name of the Goyen, that what is the highest level of pleasure the person can reach is when you have Midas Hadin B'mituk, which means the person has judgment, and he earns, through the judgment, he earns his living. That's Yain and Mishuma. It's the wine. The wine refers to, wine is something that you press until eventually comes out that wine. That is the mituk that comes out from the dini, from the press that you have through this world, and that's the ultimate schar, so they can get lost of it. Say this, so that's, we finished the first sugya Perek Chelik. Continue on. Look at the Gemara. It says, the Mishnah goes on to say who does not have Chelik Olam Haba. The Mishnah brings a list. It says, Kidvar Hashem Boza Mitzvaso Yefar Hikoris. What is it referring to? Who we talk about, he says that he was Mevazid Var Hashem. So he denies Torah from Shemayim. Torah Kidvar Hashem Boza Ze Apikoris. Talk about Apikoris. What is Apikoris? We'll see in a moment. The Gemara is going to discuss what is the Apikoris. The simple pshat of the word Apikoris, Rashi refers to later, is Apikoris Loshen Hefkerus. It's not Hefker. Someone who shows in Torah something which is wrong. The Gemara is going to bring examples to it soon. It's also
it comes from like Epicurus, so isn't there something about that it comes from like the Greek philosopher Epicurus? Is that what the
maybe? See, Rashi brings it. What does Rashi say? Let's take a look. Let me find this Rashi. It's not mamish over here. Maybe someone base. Rashi brings. I don't know where Rashi. Rashi says that Epicurus Loshen Hefkerus. Okay, we'll find it later. But I think Rashi got over here too.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's
yeah. But anyway, so the Okay, anyways, the Gemara is going to say what is the Bikuris. So Zok the Gemara, we'll see that he dashes the Torah in the wrong way. As it says, is made for bris basar, taking away the bris milah or moisture bris. It could be either or. He cars, b'olam hazeh, he cars l'olam habo. He gets away in this world and the world to come. The kanoma bloza mudoy amichalel es hakochim ve'amevazes hamoyados. So chilu kochim bizui moyed ve'ameh for bris shalom avinu ve'amigal leponim b'torah shel kalacha. All we mentioned, va'amal b'im pnei chaver b'rabim. In all these cases, the Maharal goes on to explain over here. The reason is because you see, you can do many good things. You have Torah Masitoivim. But if you don't have the actual connection to Yiddishkeit, so you don't belong to Lamab. Person can do Torah and mitzvahs the whole time. He needs to show that he has the neshama. He has the kedusha. So if he's mevaz the moyadus, it means he becomes a moyed. He's not able to connect to the kedusha of the moyed. He's not able to, Bechal the Kotchim doesn't have the Kedusha of food, or the food of Bibis and English. Obviously, Bismillah, Mikal Purim Matayro, Ma'abi Chavrab, he didn't find them in any aspects. He goes into them. Each one of them is he's taking away some of the Kedusha, the essential Kedusha. He's only talking about the external, so it doesn't belong to the Rabbi. Tanya Yidel Kidva Hashem Boza Zahim and Toyim and Hashemayim. Like we said before, he denies Torah for Shemayim. Filo Imrika Torah Kulim and Hashemayim Chutz V'Posuk Zesh Shalom Rakach Bohu. Even if he says everything is a Shemayim except one pasuk. He's mizalz, he's disgracing the Torah. I feel Torah kulim min Shemayim chutz midik dugzeh kavachoyim zeh zeh hashav azu. So not only Torah shebachtav, but Torah shebapeh as well. I raised the Dvar Hashem Boza. It's all included in the Dvar Hashem Boza. Says the Gemara, Tanya Reb Meir Limit Torah ve'enu melamdo zeu Dvar Hashem. Dvar Hashem Boza, which means that he's learning Torah, is teaching Torah. He's learning Torah, he's not teaching it. That's a repellent. Talking about someone till now who's denying Torah, denying, he's going against everything Kaddish. Here, talking about someone who's not teaching Torah. His ability to teach is not teaching Torah. Dvar Hashem Boza. Doesn't learn, right? And Rashi says he doesn't take the Mishnah so seriously. Someone who could learn but is not learning. Now here, this is where these things go to extreme. And these beer, we're not going to it right now, but the one of those kachavim is lagam. We're talking about someone who's mufka, right? He's community. He's the zara. The other one seems to be, he's learning. He's not teaching. He can learn a little bit more. Doesn't seem to be. How can you put them at the same level? So the my mashmo, the Tana of Rabbi Shmuel, Kidva Hashem Boza is a mevazed dibur shemar l'moshe Sinai. In other words, the only thing we heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly is not to David the Zara. Everything else we heard from Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the Dvar Hashem Boza. He was mevazed the dibur, which is miyuchat to Hashem. So now we mentioned this is like a by the way. Spoke about learning Torah, teach Torah, say someone's learning Torah, doesn't do Chazara. So then the din is that now we know this reference. He's like planting and not harvesting. He learns Torah and forgets it. She gives birth and she has to bury your baby. I mean, you had a Torah and you lost it. Rabbi Kiva Omer, you lost the Torah there. So if the Baal Tanya has in his Shulchan Aruch Harav, there's a difference between Einu Zoicher and Meshakech. Meshakech means you did actions that cause you to forget it. Rabbi Kiva Omer in Daf Tzayin with base, Zemer b'chol yoyim. You should learn Torah in a way that you'll be able to sing it every day. It's going to be so much sooner that you can just sing it every day. So when he has a omel, so the Torah was omel for him. Which means that because he's always learning, he's always there. So it becomes the Torah becomes part of him and becomes part of his essence. Says the Gemara, this is a very important in Gemara. I mean, every Gemara is important, but this is a Gemara to know as we go through life, especially here in America. Everybody is born to toil. He's born to toil. What was he born to toil for? To talk or to do a melacha? That's how you do the math. Or talking. It means create the Amal Torah to a person to toil and Torah. Everybody in the world is toiling. There's a schus to be Amal and Torah. I don't know why this always stuck this story. When we just came to Lawrence, we were touring houses. We went into one of the houses here. I remember exactly where he was. And the owner of the house then was a lady that lived there. And she wasn't a firm lady. And she comes in and she's kvetching. Why are you kvetching so much? She's playing golf the whole day and she has pain. And, it was a hard day. It was a difficult day.
She had a bad stroke.
So we said, okay, everybody's kvetching about something, to know which kvetch you have. But here the Gemara, the Pashup Shal, the Gemara needs view. What does it mean? The Torah says that it could be it's Omal Melacha, maybe it's Omal Tzicha, or really, that's what we thought. The Adam was born to do Omal Melacha. So many Pirushim in the Mepharshim, many Pirushim want to say maybe yes, maybe the Iker Adam is Omal Melacha while he's doing Torah on the side, like Torah in the Echeretz. Some want to say it that way. But something Kakoyan explains in a few places. The Pshat is like this. When it says Melacha and it says Dibur, it doesn't mean Melacha, work in the field. Melacha means Maisa Mitzvahs. And Dibur means Tefillah. And then Adam Yulod, person is born to Amal. For what? What's the main Amal? To do mitzvahs? Maybe Adam needs to do. We know Shlosh Amudim Oil Moimed. We have Torah, Avodah, Gvus Chasodim. Torah is Torah, Avodah for us. It's Tefillah, and Gvus Chasodim is mitzvahs. So I don't know what's the Iker for the Adam. So Gemara says, I have tzad, mitzvahs the Iker for the Adam. Well, no, it has to be something that we're talking. Oh, maybe it's Tefillah. Well, no, it's Torah. The Iker knows the Torah. Yes, everything else is important. Everybody has to have Shlosh Amudim. But the Iker is a Torah. Someone oh, what does it mean? Someone who's nefish without a heart. He's learning Torah with breaks. A little bit here, a little bit there. Torah needs to be on your mouth the whole time, not a little bit here, a little bit there. Now, another one goes back to the sugyo regarding someone who is dashing Torah the wrong way. He dashed psukim and basically made fun of the Torah. What do you say? Why did Moshe have to tell us that the sister of Loitan is Timno? Who cares who the sister of Loitan is? Making fun, Chalila, that the words of the Torah are unnecessary. Or Timno et Pilegish Alifas. Why do you have to tell me Timno is a Pilegish? Why is that detail important to me? Again, why is that important? So you come and you're questioning the Torah. You think I'm like you? There's the same words with no purpose. I'll prove you wrong. Right? I mean, they start with little questioning. That's what another one. The word's telling us, Menashe, who became the biggest argument of the Zohar, how did it start? That's how it started. So it's saying that the Torah, I mean, some things in the Torah are unnecessary. Chalila. And then that led him to get to Avodah Zarah. In the beginning, the Tzahara starts as a small string. How do they translate Kuvya over there? In the art school? Nobody has art school? I don't know. So the side over here, they say that's Chutcha Buchya, which is a spider web. And then it becomes very strong, very thick ropes. So meaning the Yitzhara starts by convincing someone to do something small, and then it grows and it grows. Says the Gemara, the Hosan Allah. So now they already discussed it. Mio, what do you mean? What's the pasuk? So the Gemara, the pshat in the pasuk is Timno bas v'lochim avoy. Ichtiv aluv loiton aluv timno. In other words, it's a melech without a crown. which means it's a prince or a princess. They belong to Melachim, but they don't have their own Melucha. She wanted to become a Giyaris. They didn't accept her. She became Pilegish, like an unmarried woman to Elifaz. I would prefer to be a servant, a maid, so someone a maid to this nation, to the Jews, and not a important person in a different nation. Now, Amalek, the Tsarinu Lisrael came out of her Amalek with a lot of pain to Am Yisrael. My time into we shouldn't have pushed her so much. She wanted to come beyond part of Am Yisrael. This, by the way, as brought down, when I was thinking, the Ramay Pana brings it that if Yaakov Avinu would allow Dino to marry Esav, so then Amalek would not be born. So when there's a little bit of taino on the opposite Kedoshim, when they did not allow some people to get too close, that caused the Leido of Amalek. So why do we need that? So the first two psukim we took care of. That's what we said. And we said when we say she was a princess, then she was the Pilegish for Eliphaz. Second one, we make Sichit wants to draw over there. He didn't touch Gaza. He went to a place where it's all hefker. Levi Omar Sigli, Risen Omar Sivsaki. Actually, we don't know. It's some kind of plant, and Rashi Chumash tells us that's a plant that brings. We saw this earlier. Is that it's good for a woman who doesn't give for labor.
It's called epidural.
Epidural is after she gets pregnant, to make her pregnant.
Particularly, I think Rashi, not Rashi here, Rashi Chumash translates it. I think it's going to be violence.
I think it's Yavruchi. I think I saw today that they say the first one is what the Targum says in Chumash. I think. So the one Alexandria, Koloisik Bater, Lishmo, Mesim Shampan, Shamali,
Jasmine, is that one of them?
Maybe. Omar Alexandria, Koloisik Bater, Lishmo, Mesim Shampan, Shamali, Shamata, Shamali, O Yechezkel Mozi. It says Shalom Li, Shalom Yasali. Someone who is holding the Torah the right way, so he takes Shalom up there and Shalom down here. Rav Omar Kilu Bona Palim Shamal Shamato. He's building Palim Shamal Shamato. Shnei Avasim Dvari Avicho V'Tzel Yedi Kisisicho to Hashemayim V'Lisa Loretz. So as the first point out, what is Palim Shamal Palim Shamato? V'Yisamigdu Shamalo and V'Yisamigdu Shamato. V'Yichrava Megel Kol Oilim Kulu Shemar V'Tzel Yodai Kisisicho. He's protecting the whole world. Levi Omar Av Mikar V'Sagula. Bring the Gula closer. Shnemar Loimer Letzioin Am Yato. So he's learning Torah, referring to the same psukim, he brings the Geula. Someone teaches the son of Torah as if he made him. We had Kilu Yilodoi, Kilu Asor, Shnema Teneva Sher Osu B'chorim. Rabbi Lazar, or he brings here, it's, according to the Goyen, change it around. He says, Oimer Kilu Asor L'dvar Torah, Diva Torah, Shnemar, so it's as if they did that mitzvah, right? Meaning he created the mitzvah. He made a creation of it. As if created himself. Someone who makes his friend do a mitzvah, as if he did it. When you hit the Nile with. According was Aaron did it. Someone makes someone else do a mitzvah as if he himself did the mitzvah. And here's different levels of asiyah. Just one good is that says what the Nefesh Chaim brings, the Chaim Velosha brings. A person does a mitzvah, he creates in the world a mitzias. And that mitzias protects him. That's why mitzvah gurer is mitzvah, because he's surrounded with the kedusha of the mitzvah. So he's a soim, he's creating a mitzvah. He's not only doing a mitzvah, he's doing a whole creation in the world. A few more lines over here. This is the more Apikoris. What is a Apikoris? Someone who disgraces the Tamachochem. He's embarrassing his friend in front of Tamachochem, which is a bigger embarrassment. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, Apikoris. So, visually, if you say that if he's embarrassing his friend in front of that's apikoris. As mefazle v'chochem atzu migali poni matur shel kaloch. We said before something called migali poni matur shel kaloch. What does it mean? We can explain. It means mefazle v'chochem. He's embarrassing the v'chochem, and that's a worse thing. Mefazle migali poni matur shel kaloch, meaning is worse than apikoris. So that's when you embarrass the v'chochem. Apikoris, which is a lower level, is embarrassing a friend in front of the v'chochem. I think it's really as Rashi says. Rashi says. See, right, look at Losh Rashi. Rashi says Migali put him in the middle of the left side. He says, Me'iz poni klapi oiski toiro. Migali poni mishtamel on the chamir me'apikoris. The apikoris ainu ispeaf kiruso be'al. That's the Losher, but that comes out from Rashi. The Kerus, he's not so careful. So he says that someone who's Migali poni is worse than that. So the more someone who is mivastem chokim, he's apikoris. Migali poni matoi kikon mai. What's going to be? What is migali poni? So the more Menashe ben Yechezkel that went and dashed in the Torah wrong, as we said before. Some learn this whole discussion on the end of the Mishnah, on the next part of the Mishnah. Migali poni matoi. Well, what is that? Amri zamivastem chokim. They say someone who's embarrassed at the mechach. That's migali poni, like all the stuff we had before. That is migali poni. Migali poni means to embarrass his friend in front of the mechach. So this is why I understand if you say that migali poni means to embarrass the mechachim. So embarrassing a friend in front of the mechach, which is less than that, apikoris, that's apikoris. That is migali poni b'torah apikoris koiman. So what's apikoris? Apikoris is less than that. What is less than embarrassing a friend in front of the mechachim? What's apikoris? The ones who say, what does Rabbanon do? What does the Chachamim do? They're learning from themselves. They don't help anybody else. They're doing it. They're sitting in the bisrayim, and you hear that. They're doing it themselves. They're sitting and learning. What are they doing? They don't understand that the whole world is standing on these Chachamim. That's of course someone's migali poni. If he doesn't believe it, Chachamim, so he's also migali poni b'torah. Why? So clearly the Torah, we know if you don't have Torah, you don't have the world. The whole place is standing because of them. So therefore the Gemara says that can be apikoris. It's worse than apikoris. It's migali poni b'torah shel kalach. Elo kigol di Yosef kamei Rabbi. Elo we're talking about someone sitting in front of his Rabbi. As they're learning, yeah. What is apikoris? Someone's learning in front of his Rebbe.
Falls off the original shot, and now he's saying.
The Gemara's arguing. In other words, we have a shot that apikoris is someone who is not. He says the Bechachim is not choshev, but does not doing anything. The Gemara now is changing. That's the Megala Push to Yishal Galacha, and apikoris is the following. What is the following? Someone's learning in front of his Rebbe. Someone in the middle of his learning, he says, "Oh, I remember we learned it in Masechet Makos. We learned it there, but we didn't say Rebbe said it. It is not treating his Rebbe in the proper way. The people of the house of the Binyamin the doctor, what did Rabbanon help us? And not in the same way the previous Manor. The previous Manor says they didn't believe the Torah makes a difference. Here he says Rabbanon don't help us with Sakaloch. Why? They didn't do they never allowed us a raven or told us that a dove, a pigeon is mutter, is also. Meaning, whatever they said, I know already. Right? I'm a bigger rabbi than them. I don't need them as a rabbi. I know the psak halacha. Did they tell me any chiddush I didn't know on my own? So that's the zilzut they have to have. When they brought in front of him a tray full, when he saw it's mutter, he would speak to them in their language. You say, "Oh, you want to see something? I'm not you a raven. You think it's usher. I'm showing you it's mutter. No, I'm helping you." Ki avachazal time l'isur so where it's also amalu tichzu de kasanu chayayno. Amoyse you a pigeon. Rapapa Oma kikondo Oma hani Rabbonon Rapapo kikondo sorry Koma hani Rabbonon he just said the words hani Rabbonon Loshen Bizoyin, right? And he says it's Loshen Gnai. Rashi says he should have said Hano Rabbonon. Hani Rabbonon is Loshen Gnai. Rabba Ishtali, Rabba what I forgot. Rabba kikondo hani Rabbonon, and he said it in the wrong way. He said he made a tiny to fix what he did. They were fixing the Sfarim, the correcting the mitpachos, the what covers of the Sefer Torah. Kimotu Megillas Esther. If you reach Megillas Esther, Amri, how Megillas Esther will buy mitpachos? He says it doesn't need to have a cover, right? That's what he says. So he says, "Omeluki, I gavne nami." So that's the lotion he says. Kimauto Megillas Esther, Amri, how Megillas Esther will buy mitpachos? Okay, I gavne nami mixzik afkeruso. So if kerus. Explain the Rashi. Look at Rashi. Kimot Megillas Esther teken lemitpachas. Amri Megillas Esther lemitpachas. Kol belashon bayo. Omer leRav Yudo. Havadai letzurch mitpachas. Kol nacheres. Lashon gnayut. Amri lemim leRabam. Lashon sheilo. Can't tzricho ein tzricho. Like even like a, it's partial. He doesn't need. We don't speak to it like this way to your Rebbe. Last sentence over here says the Gemara. Nachon Omar is that koyre Rabbi b'shmoi. Someone calls the name of his Rebbe in his first name. Tomar v'yirchoi prima neresh gechozi. He called the Rebbe in his name. Shnema v'yoymer gechazi Adoni Amelech Zoy Saisho v'zeh bno Asher Hechyo Elisha. He called his Rebbe Elisha. Didn't say hey, you don't call the Rebbe his name. So all these answers that we had going from the end of the previous one to here, what goes to the Epikoris is if Kerusa Ba'alma means someone who's saying things in the wrong way. It's mistreating Rabbanon, Ma'ani Rabbanon. Or I don't like the Psak Halacha Rabbanon, or he calls in his name, he's treating the Rebbe in an improper way. That's a Pikoris. But someone who actually it goes on to say that Chachamim don't have any value, the Torah doesn't hold the world, that's Megalat Panim HaTorah, Shaloi Kalach. Very good. We'll stop over here.